A team this young isn't supposed to win a championship. History says it's impossible, but the scary truth is, this was not a miracle. It was a coronation. The final step in a secret 5-year blueprint that began with a supposed surrender and ended with a dynasty designed to be unbreakable. To comprehend the mastery of Sam Presti's second act, one must first understand the foundational sin that ended his first. The original Thunder, a marvel of draft night acumen, seemingly destined for a decade of dominance. And then, they traded James Harden. It's remembered as a franchise-altering blunder, a cautionary tale of a small-market team pinching pennies. And it was. But to view it merely as a mistake is to miss its true significance. The decision was forced by a brutal, punitive new luxury tax system introduced in the 2011 CBA that made retaining all 3 superstars financially untenable for a team in Oklahoma City. For general manager Sam Presti, this was not just a failure. It was what we'll call lesson 0. He learned firsthand that drafting transcendent talent was only half the battle. The real challenge was building a team that could survive success within the league's predatory financial framework. The ghost of the Harden Trade forged a new philosophy built on 3 obsessions. But it was the 3rd obsession, mastering the league's financial maze, that would become his ultimate weapon. Later, we'll show exactly how he used a new, even more punishing version of these rules to build a team that's basically bulletproof. Presti had his lesson. Now, 7 years later, he just needed a desperate trade partner. July 2019. The basketball world is fixated on Kawhi Leonard. The Clippers, desperate, are all in. But Kawhi has a condition: he won't come alone. He needs a co-star. He wants Paul George. This forced them to negotiate with a man armed with the hard-won wisdom of lesson 0. Sam Presti saw a franchise backed into a corner, and he didn't just ask for a fair price, he demanded a king's ransom. The final haul was one of the largest in NBA history. For Paul George, who was coming off a top 3 MVP and Defensive Player of the Year season, the Thunder received veteran forward Danilo Gallinari, a promising 20-year-old guard named Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 5 first-round picks, and the right to 2 first-round pick swaps. It was a treasure chest of assets that, at the time, some analysts dismissed, with one fan forum comment from the era noting, "If it ain't a top 20 pick, it ain't worth a flip most years." At the time, the trade was seen as a steep but necessary price for the Clippers' title shot. But Presti was playing a longer game. He saw a future MVP hiding in plain sight in SGA, a player who averaged just 10.8 points per game as a rookie, but who Presti insisted be included in the deal. But the true genius of this heist, the part that elevates it from a great deal to an all-time fleecing, would only reveal itself 3 years later, because that 2022 unprotected first-round pick from the Clippers landed at number 12 overall.
The Oklahoma City Thunder select Jalen Williams.
And with that pick, Presti selected Jalen Williams in a single transaction. Separated by 3 years, Sam Presti had acquired both functional All-NBA pillars of his future championship team. It is, without question, one of the greatest trades in sports history. If you're already thinking, this might be the best trade ever, drop a like and subscribe. We're just getting started. Presti had his war chest and his 2 cornerstones, but now came the hardest part, turning picks into a supporting cast. And his next move was a gamble on a prospect so skinny the world thought he'd snap in half. With the 2nd overall pick in 2022, Presti made his riskiest bet. He selected Chet Holmgren.
With the 2nd pick in the 2022 NBA Draft, the Oklahoma City Thunder select Chet Holmgren,
a 7'1" prospect with a staggering 7'6" wingspan who could shoot, pass, and block shots like a basketball supercomputer. There was just one problem. He weighed 195 pounds. The questions were relentless. Could he survive in a league of brutes like Embiid or Jokic? Scouting reports called him a unicorn prospect, but he was a basketball genius housed in a body that looked like it was built by string cheese. Other GMs might have flinched, drafting for physique over skill, but Presti bet on his world-class development program to build the body while he drafted the brain. It was a bet that paid off. But this is where a good plan becomes a legendary one, because with Holmgren sidelined for his entire first year with a foot injury, the blueprint could have crumbled. But Presti had already drafted the insurance policy. 10 picks after Chet, he selected Jalen Williams, a late bloomer from a small school who many analysts called a reach. But Presti saw what others undervalued, a player who grew 8 inches after his junior year of high school, a guard with the wingspan of a center. They bet on the franchise changer, and with Holmgren out, they needed him to be one immediately. But acquiring talent is only step one. The real magic of the blueprint was the culture that nurtured it. Under Coach of the Year Mark Daigneault, they built an ego-free ecosystem defined by joy and discipline. When one player improves, he gets the credit. When an entire roster improves simultaneously, the system gets the credit. They had the talent, they had the culture, but to become champions, they needed to learn one final lesson: when to stop being patient and start being ruthless. By the winter of 2024, the Thunder were the best team in the West. But on the NBA's biggest regular season stage, Christmas Day, they were invisible, snubbed.
The Oklahoma City Thunder were snubbed from the NBA Christmas Day schedule.
The league still didn't see them as marquee. For a young, proud team, it was the final piece of motivation they needed. The patient phase of the blueprint was over. It was time for surgical aggression. Presti once said, "You don't buy paint for a house before you actually buy the house." The house was built. The first move was ruthless, but necessary, trading fan favorite Josh Giddey for the perfect antidote to their defensive needs, two-time all-defensive guard Alex Caruso. But to make the final moves, Presti had to navigate the league's newest and most dangerous obstacle, the second apron. Think of it as the luxury tax on steroids. It was designed specifically to stop rich teams from building and sustaining super teams. Cross that line, and your ability to aggregate salaries in trades, use the mid-level exemption for free agents, or even trade first-round picks 7 years out became severely restricted. It's the very same financial pressure that forced the Harden trade, now evolved into its final, most punitive form. The Thunder's most glaring weakness was a lack of size and rebounding. Their solution was Isaiah Hartenstein, a statistically proven interior anchor. But the genius wasn't just the player, it was the contract. It was front-loaded with a descending salary and a team option for the final year. It ensured his deal wouldn't cripple them when the massive extensions for Holmgren and Williams kicked in, giving them an escape hatch to stay out of the dreaded second apron. It was lesson zero, learned a decade earlier, now executed to perfection. The ghost of the Harden trade was finally exercised. The blueprint was complete. The team was built. But what makes this Thunder team truly terrifying isn't just that they won the championship, it's what they can still become. Stay with us to see the mountain of assets that could turn this team into the NBA's next great dynasty. The Oklahoma City Thunder's 2025 NBA championship was the irrefutable validation of a philosophy built in 4 tenets. 1. Radical, patient. 2. Drafting for identity. 3. Culture as a multiplier. And 4. Surgical aggression. And they did it all while being the youngest championship team in 48 years since the 1977 Portland Trail Blazers. The team was a statistical impossibility led by a 24-year-old Bill Walton and a 21-year-old rookie Johnny Davis that broke every unwritten rule of contention. The Thunder did not just win a title, they established a new paradigm for building a champion in the modern NBA. And the most terrifying part, they are not done. As of today, they still control over a dozen first-round picks in the next 7 drafts. They have the assets to do it all over again. But a dynasty isn't guaranteed, as Kevin Durant recently pointed out.
But those 3 guys got to keep getting, I mean, Shea's already at that level, but those 2 guys got to keep getting better.
The future hinges on a critical question.
Shea's going to be that guy for the rest of his career. What is Jalen Williams and Chet going to be? They know they got a great team. More than anything, those 2 guys got to keep stepping up and become perennial all-stars no doubt all-stars every year without the benefit of having a good team.
So I'm calling it now. With this blueprint and that war chest, J-Dub and Chet will become those guys, and the Thunder will win at least 2 more championships by 2030. Book it. Remember this video when it happens. Think I'm wrong? Prove me wrong in the comments below. They built a dynasty from scratch. But can they survive success? That's your call. Hit subscribe and drop your prediction. For more deep dives that break down how basketball history is really made, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We'll see you in the next one.